Obviously, not an ideal game this past week for the Chicago Bears, losing in overtime to the Minnesota Vikings, but there was a ton of positives that came out of this game.
Ladies and gentlemen, this stream is being powered by BetUS. Take advantage of a 150% sign up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 using code YouTube150. I repeat, that is code YouTube150. Right now in the NFL, Week 13 odds are out and present for you to make your picks. If you're looking for a new sports book, BetUS is where you want to be. On Thanksgiving, there's a 3-game slate with the Chicago Bears versus the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions minus 9.5 on the point spread. New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys favored at minus 3.5 on the point spread. And Thursday night, primetime game, Green Bay Packers and Miami Dolphins. The Packers are a minus 3 on the point spread. Ladies and gentlemen, take advantage of this offer. Even on Black Friday, there will be a game at 3 p.m. The Las Vegas Raiders versus the Kansas City Chiefs. One of the largest spreads of the weekends, the Kansas City Chiefs at a minus 13. Will they win by that much or more? It's up for you to decide right here on BetUS.
One, we got to see that Thomas Brown is the real deal with back-to-back games of over 390 yards total of offense. He's averaging 394.5 yards of offense in his first 2 games as the offensive coordinator, going against 2 top 13 defenses and with some of the best rushing defenses in the NFL. Caleb Williams looked absolutely fantastic as well against the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, look at the stats right here in total with the offense alone, 398 yards, 320 passing. He had 340 on the day, 78 rushing, 27 total points, 11 coming in the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, 20 first downs, and they owned time of possession. So honestly, I was super pumped of what I saw out of the Chicago Bears against the Minnesota Vikings. The defense did a really good job against Sam Darnold. They kept Justin Jefferson to only 2 receptions under 30 yards. Jordan Addison had himself a day, but there were some questionable calls by the officials again. I mean, we had the worst officiating crew of the season in this one for Bears versus Vikings. Not an ideal time, but they put up a battle. They fought back. Caleb Williams showed he was a winner. He only had 2 sacks on him. The offensive line's playing a lot better. Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones, both our tackles, are top 10 since week 2 in the NFL. So there was a lot of progression in going against a 8-2, now 9-2 Minnesota Vikings team with a very tough defense, the best blitzing defense in the NFL, top 4 overall, and being able to rip it up for almost 400 yards, force it to overtime, and score 11 points on them in the fourth quarter. I think that the Bears did a fantastic job. Clearly, we also saw that Matt Eberflus is not a head coach anymore in this, or was never meant to be a head coach. Defensive coordinator at best, but his collapse in overtime against the Vikings was the reason why he's going to get canned. And it's likely that he could get canned against the Detroit Lions with a loss. That's some rumors that are going around because the Bears are going to have 10 days off in between Lions versus San Francisco 49ers. So there's a big opportunity here for the Chicago Bears. But I want to go back to the Vikings game real quick. Caleb Williams showed progression, 2 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, 340 passing yards, 33 yards rushing. This kid did everything he could in order to win the game, and I was very proud of him how he handled it. Spread the ball out. DJ Moore with over 100 yards receiving, his second 100-yard receiving game of the season. Cole Kmet with 7 receptions. Keaton Allen, 6 receptions for 98 yards. Rashawn Johnson also with some catches. DeAndre Swift was doing it all from the backfield with over 60 total yards of offense, 38 of them coming on 1 receiving pass over the shoulder. That was a beautiful pass from Caleb Williams. But we saw it all on offense, a balanced offense, spread out, going deep down the field, taking risk and making plays happen. That's why I'm excited about this Bears team. Offensive coordinator Thomas Brown did a fantastic job back-to-back weeks. Again, Bears defense showed up. Javon Dexter with over 4 quarterback pressures. On top of it, too, almost had his 5th sack of the season, and he had 2 pass deflections in this one. Kevin Byard flirting with over 100 total tackles on the season, had 13 tackles in this one, not allowing anyone in that Vikings wide receiver room to get past him, which was a great job overall. And the Bears defensive line, Montez Sweat getting a sack and a half against the Vikings and just getting the job done. I mean, the Bears showed a lot of promise. They were going against one of the toughest offenses in the NFL, and that's why I'm excited what they're going to do against the Detroit Lions. So obviously, this is a shock the world moment for the Chicago Bears, but could be a trap game for the Detroit Lions. I mean, we've seen a couple of them over the last couple of weeks, and the Bears almost called the Vikings to have a trap game. Well, if the Bears can do what they did against the Vikings, this will be a good game against the Detroit Lions, minus the fact of how many yards they gave up on defense and points-wise. the Bears can go back to the defense that they were before this Vikings game and play the offensive game plan that they had against the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers, I think the Bears could shock the world. Aaron Glenn's a tough defensive coordinator over in Detroit. He hasn't allowed any second half points in the last 3 games for the Detroit Lions. But if the Bears can come out early, come out often, get things going, attack, because Thomas Brown did a great job making Brian Flores not look like a top defensive coordinator in the league. If he can do the same thing to Thomas Brown, get some confidence back, good things will happen for this Bears team. My 3 keys to the game in order to make this thing happen: 1, give the ball to DJ Moore again in any way, shape, or form, and continue to do trick plays. That trick play of last week against Minnesota that was called back on Rome Odunze because of offensive pass interference was total BS. But if you can get DJ Moore, who's a versatile player, to run the ball, catch the ball, even throw the ball, they will absolutely spread this thing out. Number 2, do not play soft zone defense against this Detroit Lions wide receiver room. They are very tough to go against. And Matt Eberflus, I think he knows he's canned. I think he's given up. The guys should not listen to him. Do their game, play their game, do what they do best, being one of the most athletic secondaries in the NFL, and go man-to-man against this tough Detroit wide receiver and tight end room. Number 3, find a way to stop David Montgomery. If you can stop David Montgomery, this Detroit offense will fall apart quickly. But I'm excited too, because if they do put up something against the Bears and they do beat the Chicago Bears, which is 99% likely to happen, but that 1%, you guys know me, I'm holding on to faith. If it does happen, we get to see Ben Johnson up close and see what he can do for this Bears offense. Or even Aaron Glenn. I would love to see the Bears potentially go out and get Aaron Glenn as their next head coach, because he's a defensive-minded guru, and keep Thomas Brown, who's working really well with Caleb Williams. But Caleb Williams can have himself a day. Detroit has the 25th worst defensive secondary in the NFL. If he can do what he's doing, throw the ball up and get the job done, that's exactly what the Bears can do in this one. Not only that, too, the Bears defense is going up against a potentially banged up Detroit Lions offense. They're potentially missing David Montgomery and St. Brown in this one. I mean, they're 10-1 in this game. They should win anyway. So if you let them sit this upcoming weekend, it's good for the Detroit Lions. I can see Dan Campbell doing that. But I'm curious to see how this offensive line holds up against a tough defensive line in Detroit. Along with that, too, I want to see how Thomas Brown handles the pressure again, because if he can throw up over 390 again against Detroit, huge advantage. From an injury perspective, Bears don't have too many injuries. Jaquan Brisker is on IR. Ryan Bates is out with a concussion, our right guard. So that means our starting offensive line from left to right is going to be Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Coleman Shelton, Matt Pryor, and Darnell Wright, who have only allowed 4 sacks in the last 2 games, our best stretch of the season. But on top of that, too, from an injury perspective, Elijah Hicks is also out, which means Adrian Colbert, a guy that we love during Hard Knocks and a fan favorite and also a locker room favorite, is back up on the active roster. You have DeAndre Swift, Rashawn Johnson, and then Travis Homer will be running back 3. A lot of people thought Darrington Evans was going to be, but the Bears have the healthiest roster they've had all season in Week 13 on Thanksgiving in Detroit. It's going to be a very exciting game. Excited to see what they do. I'm sure Dion's got his own words for it, but why not the Bears shock the world? I got the Bears winning this game 28-24. Bears are going to shock the world. They're going to keep this offense hot. They're going to keep things going, and I'm excited to see what they do this upcoming Thursday against the Detroit Lions. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and bear down, baby.
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.